Because my next question for you, uh, coming from the boxing side of things, she's retired from the UFC. Uh, Does she fight a Clarissa Shields in a mega fight or something? You know what I mean? Is there the Nagano path to boxing? Nagano versus Tyson, Nagano versus Wilder or AJ? Is there an Amanda Nunes versus somebody, as even if it's an exhibition? Is there something we see in the future? I'm not saying you should advocate for it one way or the other. I don't know your thoughts on that part of it. But I'm saying, do you see the a trend developing that's mixing, as we said, the WWE and UFC now have a portal, a direct link. Is there going to, in boxing, the Conor and Mayweather's and is this going to be a big enough trend that the biggest champions in both sports inevitably get pulled into it? Recently retired champions, and go Miguel.
Well, it's exciting to speculate, because there are possibilities that, normally that are a little bit out of the box. To be honest with you, and I don't, mean to offend anybody, but I'm not sure the women's combat sports market is big enough to create that type of super fight.
That's a fair question.
Not unless you're going to pull in, like, Kim Kardashian is going to fight, but then you can't put, Kim Kardashian, and I'm just pulling a name that's a mega social Instagram star,
Right.
But that's the thing is there an athlete that makes sense to bring out? Clarissa Shields from boxing is, crossed over, didn't go well, but that, is something that you should be able to work with as a promoter, right? But I still think you're talking about low level stuff compared to trying to make a big media event. It would be a nice match to attract attention, a nice match. Like, I think you hit the nail on the head that the most logical place for Amanda Nunes now is WWE. She is the girl that destroyed Ronda Rousey. WWE would now have the capability of, in her highlight package, putting that destruction in their very show.
Oh my.
You know what I mean? And it really makes for a different monster, because anybody else who wants to bring in Amanda Nunes cannot show her highlights.
Right. You're absolutely right. And she gets to extend her career as far as she can still train and she can still be physical without having to go in there with the actual intent of knocking somebody out. You might take a knee injury, don't get me wrong. Wrestlers get hurt. I know this. But you're not actually going in there sort of life or death every night on purpose that you do happen to fight.
It's got a different type of intensity, and it's very intense, but it's got a different type of intensity because that not knowing if you're going to win, that type of pressure is not there in wrestling. What's going to happen, and you just have to sell it. Could she graduate to do that? Look, Ronda Rousey right now is at the top of the wrestling world in the women's side. She's been tagged. The last WrestleMania, she tag teamed with Shayna Baszler, who's another veteran of 25 MMA fights, and went over there as, the Queen of Spades with the MMA and the submission angle, a Josh Barnett student.
Yeah. Okay.
They're
Okay,
tag
right.
team. So inevitably in pro wrestling, what will now happen is they will fight, they will argue, they will fight, and they will fight each other probably next WrestleMania. They'll
Yeah.
that year to develop the story. Something
Sure.
goes tag team match, they win, but Ronda makes Shayna look bad, and then you hold a grudge, and then for a month on television, they work on that. So
Oh boy, what a sport.
while this is going on, Amanda Nunes is at a WWE training center learning how to wrestle.
Yep.
Play that out at WrestleMania, and probably Ronda will be the winner. And Ronda, with her hand shaken, raised in the ring, is attacked by Nunes.
Yeah.
That little, impromptu storyline is much more financially sensible than her thinking she's going to box.
And that you're right. And
I
that
think
sets up a whole year for them to meet at the next WrestleMania in a
Yeah,
scheduled match with right Nunes and Rousey. Hey, I could see it. I mean, you should probably write for the WWE. It's a beautiful script if you can get Nunes to sign on. You know, we've got a little time. It makes sense. The portal's there. It makes sense, and it's going to happen more and more. And you're right. They already own each other. They already partnered up,
that's
WWE and UFC. So that's now at the same time, and I don't think it's viable. Don't get me wrong, but the UFC has tried to get into boxing. They even showed some boxing on UFC Fight Pass Saturday night. Actually, Callum King Callum Smith, I think the young Irish sensation, was on a card on the UFC Fight Pass. Now, they don't have enough there. They haven't done enough shows and they don't have the production to put Nunes with a draw. So I think you're right. WWE really is the most likely course. And I mean, she's still healthy, and you know, of course these guys and girls wrestle until they're much older than
yeah,
boxers and UFC fighters, of course. So
yeah.
it extends that career, it keeps you out there, and I think it almost, I mean, almost seems logical, almost makes like, why not? Like if it didn't happen, it'd almost be surprising at this point.
Yeah, when we've mentioned on the Ngannou side that after Tyson Fury, John Jones is the inevitable thought. For Nunes, she's going to retire into the sunset. Buy some property in Brazil, raise her kid with her girlfriend, buy some horses, and just live the life. That's one thing. But if there's going to be some need to be in the limelight or some need to generate income, or let's say that at the end of the day, she's still young. She
Yeah,
could go through the money she has and still be 40. You know what I mean? So it's like she should be, if she could cash in a major payday like that, I think she
right.
should. I think that's the allure. If not, she could stay retired. But there's your choices. Come back and do the Pena trilogy, which makes sense, and they would have to pay her for it, or go off on that WWE path now that the companies are together. Like I said, if she went to Bellator, Bellator could do whatever you want. When they had Bellator and Tito was fighting, the rivalry match with Bonner, and they had all these UFC stars, and they're doing their thing. They were forced to do stupid stuff like pull them into the ring with, one guy, Bonner had his friend with a pro wrestling mask on there, and like allowed them to script their idea. And that's because they couldn't do a highlight package. They have no film to work on a highlight package. So whatever the
Yeah,
selling was, and every company that looks at Nunes will be hampered by that,
right.
except for the WWE. So to me, that's a no-brainer.
It really is. It really is. Good call. And